Today I'd like to do a product review of the most powerful flashlight that I've tested here on my channel. This is the ThruNite TN40 Rechargeable LED Searchlight. That's right, this isn't just a flashlight, this is a searchlight. It has a max output on turbo mode of 4450 lumens, which is crazy. That's right, I said 4450 lumens on that turbo mode with a maximum beam distance of 1151 meters, which is nuts. That's 0.7 miles or a little over 1 kilometer. Now we've seen from past testing that's probably going to be 0.1 to 0.2 on the lux meter, but it's still a really great distance. It's on the very expensive side at $260, so this is more of a specialized searchlight for specific use cases. So let's get started now with this product review featuring the TN40 Searchlight. Normally when I test out a flashlight, I do some preliminary testing in residential areas, but I quickly found out that the TN40 isn't your average flashlight. This thing throws light at such a great distance, it was ticking off all the neighbors, and I kind of had to revise my strategy for this particular product review. Normally I try to do a lot of scientific testing, for example doing 1 meter lux readings, and then using inverse square law for calculating the civil twilight distance of the different modes of the flashlight. But I found with the TN40 that it maxed out my cheapo lux meter, so I couldn't do that methodology for the testing of this flashlight. So I had to up the ante a little bit. Just a quick rundown of some of the main features of the TN40. It uses 4 Cree XPL high LEDs. It uses a ThruNite battery pack that's at 6800 milliamp hours at 7.2 volts. It does require a proprietary adapter cable for charging, which we'll talk in a little bit more detail later. It has all of the things that we expect now from ThruNite: tough build quality, waterproof, good ergonomics, just the usual that we come to expect now from the quality that we get from ThruNite. In all of my other flashlight videos, I like using a local field for testing out the throw and the flood of the flashlight and putting cones out there to mark out the different lux readings. But with the TN40, it was just way too powerful. It's almost like trying to test out the beam of the Death Star from the movie Star Wars. It's just way too powerful, and it quickly maxed out the field. My next strategy was to travel to a resort in the Cascade Mountains and to use the golf course for testing out the flashlight beam. I thought I'd have plenty of field space on a golf course. But yet again, the TN40 was just way too powerful. It cut right through those fields and was shining a bright beam of light on all of the surrounding mansions of that golf course. And those residents were probably starting to wonder if a UFO was landing outside of their home because all of a sudden it was a bright beam of light on there. So before getting in any kind of trouble, I had to evacuate that particular idea and try something else. About a month later, I took the TN40 to our weekend family vacation in Cannon Beach, Oregon. I thought that with the beach that I'd have plenty of distance for properly testing the beam and there wouldn't be a bunch of houses nearby to bother the residents. But I didn't really account for all the moisture that would be in the air due to the ocean. And so as soon as I turned on the flashlight, it just hit all of those water droplets and just lit them up, and it kind of nullified the test. Although I did have a good time testing out the flashlight in the fields next to the ocean and breaking up some teenage couples that were sneaking out for a good time in the middle of the night. They probably thought I was part of the local authorities, but really, I was just making a YouTube video. Let's do a quick rundown of all the mode options. I'm not going to list all of the lumens and runtimes for each of the modes just to help save on time, but I'll put that in the description box below. Basically, we have turbo, high, medium, low, Firefly, and we have a strobe mode. At turbo, again, that's 4450 lumens, high is 1780. Those are probably going to be the main modes that you're concerned about. I'm not sure why anyone would want to use Firefly on a searchlight, although if you really wanted to, you could do it for around 2 months straight. And that strobe mode is at 1100 lumens. The mode operation is fairly intuitive. On the TN40, you're going to use a side switch for turning it on and off. For changing the modes, when the light is on, you're going to long press that side switch to cycle through low, medium, and high. To get to Firefly mode, you're going to have the light off and do a long press on the side switch to get to that Firefly mode. If you double click at any point, that's going to take you right to turbo mode, which is really awesome. If you double click again while in turbo, it's going to go to strobe. The flashlight also has memory function, which is probably one of my favorite features of any flashlight, and that means that the light will turn on to the last mode that was accessed. It has to be one of the primary modes, low, medium, and high. So whatever one that you had it on last, when you turn it back on again, it'll go right to that mode. Due to the battery type and the amount of lumens that it's pumping out, this flashlight does get pretty hot, especially when it's on turbo mode for several minutes. It features something called ITC technology, which will basically automatically lower the current when it detects that the temperature has risen above 80 degrees centigrade to protect the flashlight from overheating. That's 176 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty hot. That's hotter than my morning latte. To test this, I used the Seek thermal imaging camera to see how the heat was distributed throughout the flashlight over a period of time, which we'll talk in a little bit more detail later. The TN40 features an LED indicator on the tail end of the flashlight for indicating what the current battery capacity percentage is for charging and discharging. So basically there's various colors that will indicate a certain percentage range while you're charging the flashlight, and then as you're using the flashlight it will also give you the capacity of how much power is left in the flashlight. Basically when you press that indicator it'll turn on for 5 seconds, it'll give you what the current color is that indicates a certain percentage value, and then you kind of know where to go from there. We'll talk in a little bit more detail about this in the pros and cons section, but the total charging time for this flashlight is 2.8 hours, which I thought was pretty nice. After many unsuccessful field testing of the TN40, I finally decided I'm just going to have some fun with this one. So I contacted a buddy who happens to own a quadcopter. We took that Phantom drone out to an old storage facility that's close to a body of water, and we just did multiple points of view of the TN40 from the drone's point of view as well as from the flashlight's point of view to just show how that beam really cuts through the night sky. It was absolutely amazing on just how powerful the beam is of the TN40. It goes at such a great distance across the body of water with no problem. When the drone was up in the sky, it just the light just pierces that drone. It almost shoots it out of the sky. It was also really cool to see multiple points of view of the beam pattern from the drone's point of view. So as we're looking down on the flashlight and seeing how it illuminates the ground, how it illuminates buildings nearby, just the general beam pattern, it's just really impressive on how powerful this flashlight really is. From the different points of view that we were able to get with the drone footage, you could see why this would make an awesome searchlight for professionals. Now let's go over the pros and cons, starting off first with the pros. So the first pro that I have listed is just the unbelievable throw and overall brightness of this flashlight. Again, this is the most powerful one that I've ever tested here on my channel, and it's just pretty amazing on how far the beam of light travels on this particular flashlight. It has decent weight for the size of the flashlight. It's 785 grams with the battery. It doesn't really seem like it should be as light as it actually is. I think that it has good ergonomics for a handheld searchlight with regard to girth and the balance of weight. The grip is really nice on it too. It has a surprisingly quick charging time at 2.8 hours, so you would expect it to have to charge overnight. It doesn't really take that long to charge with that AC adapter. I also felt that the TN40 has very intuitive mode operation. It's very easy to navigate through all of the modes with quick access to turbo mode and to strobe mode, and it has my favorite memory function. And the last pro that I have listed is that it is waterproof to IPX-8 Standard, which is 2 meters for an extended period of time. During my underwater testing, I found that it worked surprisingly well, especially since it only has a rubber stopper for helping protect it from water getting inside the flashlight. Normally when I see those kind of rubber stoppers, it's not rated that high. With the ThruNite, it is. So I'd feel very comfortable with this searchlight being able to be used for marine search and rescue and not having to worry about water damaging the flashlight. And that's all I have listed for the pros of the TN40. Now let's move on to the cons. The first con that I have listed is the elephant in the room, and that's regarding the price. At $260, it's out of the price range for most users. So most people aren't going to say, hey, I need a flashlight. Let me get the TN40, which costs $260. ThruNite has a lot of other options available that are much more inexpensive for EDC purposes, for your backpack, for your home. This one has a very specific customer base. I'd say that it's most useful for law enforcement officers, for search and rescue, for flashlight junkies such as myself. If you want to get in a flashlight contest with your friend, bring the TN40 with you, although it's going to cost you, again, $260, and that's the first con that I have listed. The next con that I have listed is that a special power adapter cable is required for charging the TN40. It does not charge using a USB cable, which you probably already have for your smartphones, so you're going to have to lug around this special adapter cable, which I kind of find to be a little bit of a pain. I don't like the charging and discharging indicator LED that uses colors. I don't find it to be very intuitive. For example, when I see a flashing purple, I don't immediately think, okay, it's at 25 to 50%. Or if I see a flashing blue, I'm not thinking that it's 50 to 95%. If I see a solid purple, that doesn't mean 25 to 50%. I just don't find that to be very intuitive. I would prefer more of an intuitive design similar to what the Anker PowerCore Plus power banks use, where they have a circle of LEDs, which each one of those LEDs indicating 10% of the battery capacity. I find that to be much more intuitive. You could see in color or see in black and white, and you would basically know what that charge is, whether it's charging or discharging, very easily. I don't really like the color method that ThruNite uses for the TN40. The next con is with regard to temperature. I find that the flashlight gets incredibly hot within minutes while on turbo. Again, you have an 85-minute runtime on turbo, but it gets too hot to hold after several minutes, in my opinion. I used the Seek thermal imaging camera for testing this. I tested the head of the flashlight and then the grip of the body of the flashlight, and within several minutes you're getting over 100 degrees on both areas of the flashlight, and to me that's a little too hot to hold. So even though you have that 85-minute runtime, if it's 140 degrees Fahrenheit to hold, that might be a little too hot, in my opinion, on that turbo mode. The next con that I have listed is that even though it's IPX-8 waterproof, rubber stoppers always worry me for some reason. I would prefer more of an O-ring seal design similar to what Olight uses for the R20 flashlight. I'm just more comfortable with that method. With rubber stoppers, I'm always worried that they're going to fall off. And the last con that I have listed is that I wish that it had a tripod mounting hole similar to what other large flashlights of this size will oftentimes feature. I think that'd be very handy for search and rescue teams. They'd be able to mount this flashlight on a tripod, have a steady aim to it, be able to turn it on and keep it in a stationary position while they're doing their search and rescue. I think that'd be very handy. This flashlight does feature a carrying strap, which I found that I never used. I would much rather have that tripod hole to be able to put it on a tripod for search and rescue purposes. And that's all I have listed for the cons. That's going to do it for this product review featuring the ThruNite TN40 Rechargeable LED Searchlight. In summary, once you get past the price tag of this flashlight / searchlight, I really think that ThruNite hit a home run with this one. This flashlight is awesome. For the past 3 to 4 months of testing this flashlight, I've been having a blast showing it to everyone. I feel like Mick Dundee from the movie Crocodile Dundee, similar to when he busts out his large fixed blade knife. I've been doing the same thing with this flashlight. So I've had friends say, hey, I have a flashlight, and they have this little dinky flashlight they're showing me, and I go, that's not a flashlight. This is a flashlight. And I bust out the TN40, and I watch as their jaws drop in amazement as it just cuts through the night sky for a great distance. So if you're a law enforcement officer, part of a search and rescue team, if you're a flashlight junkie, or you just want to win flashlight contests against your friend, you're going to want to get the TN40. It's pretty awesome. So please leave your comments below in the comment section regarding this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching it. And again, this video featured the ThruNite TN40 Rechargeable LED Searchlight. See you guys next time.